What's good everyone, it's Zigzag here. Welcome back to another Geoguessr video, and today is a video I've been meaning to do ever since I got back from Stockholm, ever since I witnessed this in real life, is the Geoguessr Grand Final between Blinky and MK. I'm going to be reacting to it as someone who was there in the front row as it went down, and give you a pro's perspective on the rounds and how they went down, and my opinion of the guesses and all that kind of thing, and also just relive this absolutely incredible final. Look guys, I've heard many people say that this was the best esports final they've ever seen, and one of the greatest sporting moments in general that they've ever seen. And for me personally, that stands up. I've seen some great live matches when I've been watching like sport on TV, and this one stands up to any of those, I'm pretty sure. And you know, before we get into it, like last year after the World Cup, I was like to the devs, man, you guys got lucky. The games were so high quality, and we had the insane series between MK and Kratzo, and it's crazy to think just after MK steps up once again, and he has to do it against Blinky this time. Obviously, to set the scene at this stage, Blinky is kind of the GOAT. He's made it to both grand finals of Geoguessr, and now he just has to close it out. At this stage in the tournament, he's looking so dominant. He basically hasn't dropped a map to anyone, only a couple. He won every single series. He beat Consist twice, the previous world champion. Then we got MK on the other side, had really tough games in the playoff stage to get here. Best of 5, doesn't really suit his skill set as much, where moving is just not really his thing, especially in comparison to someone like Blinky. And we get into things here. This was truly incredible, guys, and I can't wait to relive it. Honestly, so exciting. My sister's like, to everyone, she came out to watch this in real life, she said, you have to come, you know, she's telling everyone, you have to come to the Geoguessr World Cup. And let's get into it here. Let's analyze the differences between their play. First one here, MK seeing the heals immediately goes in. We have Blinky responding, finds something. Like, it's interesting, Blinky stops moving, so he thought he had something there. Ends up being big damage. MK is just playing, like, it's really interesting to watch MK play. So someone with me and MK's play style, where we're not so adept at the moving format, which is what we're watching right now, it can often be the case that they just go immediately. That's MK's tactic throughout this tournament. But I've also heard people who are less adept at the moving side of things say, okay, on the early rounds when the multis are low, that's when you move around, go for clues, try and get as close as you can, try and keep up with the other person. And then on the later rounds, that's when you instantly guess and try and, you know, make your play. So it's an interesting, like, tactics thing. This time, MK interestingly decides to move a bit, find something that says Sonoran, and Blinky just makes it there in time. And I think MK ended up being pretty close indeed, and Blinky kind of last minute lines it up really nicely there. Does get the town really last second there. And as you can see, Blinky on perfect health after the first round. Guys, just if you haven't seen this, if for some reason you're watching this for the first time on here, you're in for the most insane grand finals. I cannot tell you enough how insane this was. Let's get into the next one here. It's United States of America. I noticed that MK did tend to spend more time on US rounds in general, just throughout the tournament. On moving rounds, often he would, you know, go really quickly on some countries. US tended to be one where he'd often go for everything he could, and I'm pretty sure he just saw something that said the state on it, if I recall correctly. Blinky, though, I think found the town name at this stage and ends up, yeah, sending it correctly. It's interesting. I mean, it's a very obvious West Virginia just by the landscape, but unfortunately MK, I think, had seen a town name there and passes up on it, or is not able to see it. Actually, I think he just didn't find it. And again, Blinky, man. Blinky is just a machine. Just watching his gameplay is quite beautiful. Even as someone who, you know, I have my reservations about the moving game mode. Not my favorite, but, you know, like watching Blinky play moving is like watching a knife slice through butter, hot knife slice through butter, you know what I mean? It's just so smooth, so nice to watch. Next one here, another Mexico. And, you know, this time MK takes matters into his own hand. I think he goes a bit quicker. I haven't actually watched this since it all concluded. MK's in there. Blinky, I don't think Blinky actually nailed, I don't remember Blinky nailing this, but he's just south of Mexico City. Or maybe he does actually. No, I can't remember. Okay, yeah, actually he does nail it, never mind. I think he just used the angle of the mountains there. The mountains were clearly north. They were pretty distinctive as well. But like if you go back to the round, you can see they were very like prominent. And I think Blinky must have recognized the way they stuck out there. Next one here, I think this is where the duel ends. If I recall correctly, it's United States again, and MK gives Blinky time. But did either of them actually come to information here, right? That's what I can't remember. MK looking very uncomfortable with his guess there, goes Illinois. I think it ends up being further west, right? Unless I'm mistaken. We got a front plate. Oh, no, it must be East Coast. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. Or maybe they're both wrong. Oh, it is East Coast there, up near New Jersey. Honestly, MK's guess is very reasonable. To be honest, Blinky didn't even find anything. He just got the front plate, which had a blue on it, and then kind of just made his region guess after looking around a bit more. And this is the problem with MK's tactic a lot of the time. You go first, and then the other player kind of gets to respond with a really accurate guess. So if you didn't catch it, Blinky just flawlessed MK. There was no damage done by MK there, and Blinky is just sitting pretty. And so we go forth to game number 2 here. No No moving, that's what we like to see. Let us see what the first one was here. This one was New Zealand. So both players immediately know that because of the fence here. It's like a very New Zealand looking like fence. And it is actually Akaroa Peninsula, if I'm remembering what it's called correctly, which is the like volcano formation east of Christchurch there. Very cool place. A place I have not gotten correct many times in my GeoGuessr career. MK, though, I remember on this round, he's really unsure of himself. He's also thinking of Dunedin there. Interesting guess. I mean, it could always be there, as in like landscape does fit in my opinion, but I just know there's a bunch of coverage in Akaroa, and map makers love putting lots of locations in Akaroa, so he makes the right decision to switch back here with just a few seconds left, right? Yeah, with just 9 seconds left, he gets in there. Blinky continues the flawless gameplay here. Almost a 5k round there. Blinky, so many 4999s and 5ks when you watch this guy play. And you know, I gotta say, MK, like, I was very impressed with this tournament from MK. Obviously, this round in particular, probably one of his worst for the whole tournament. But, you know, like, he was very consistent and he held his cool in big moments. But yeah, I was just impressed with, like, his gameplay overall, his consistency. This round, though, maybe not quite so much. Bulgaria. I don't even know if you saw the flags. There were Bulgaria flags everywhere. And just after that, round 2, already, it's almost completely done. So it's best of 5, of course. Blinky needs to win 3 games total. I mean, craziness, man. Like, we honestly thought here that, well, Blinky is gonna just win 3-0. He might not even take any damage at this point. Like, MK can't stand up to the heat like no one else could in this tournament. But, well, MK, he had other ideas. As I said, this is one of the greatest sporting, you know, games of all time. Round number 3 here. Loading into this one, we got a single white line, and we also have some lamps. That's kind of the info we get here. Google car seems to be missing, I believe. And then we have a chevron, a black and yellow chevron. And yeah, so Blinky instantly locks into Singapore. I was 100% in agreement when I was in the crowd. Definitely looks like Singapore. The black and yellow chevron is definitely interesting. And MK goes in a continent where that does not exist. So, and yeah, obviously that is it after 3 rounds. And all of a sudden, I mean, Blinky with just the most absurd Bulgaria guess. And then, you know, MK missing it. And then 2 big blunders in a row. You know, I was talking about MK's consistency, but that was a poor game from MK, especially on no moving, the one where we were like, okay, MK might be able to turn up the heat here. And then we head through to possibly the craziest game of the series. We have moving game number 2. MK in a must-win position to force the series onwards. And I'm sitting next to Lenley. I'm sitting next to Graf and Kodiak, and we're getting excited. Although, personally, I wanted to see the series continue as long as possible. This one here, we have the A-type guardrail, which is why MK goes in Slovenia. Blinky misses this detail and ends up going for Istria, or actually just normal Croatia there. An interesting blunder. It happens on moving sometimes that you just don't see a detail. But yeah, definitely a nice guess, and very close to where I traveled recently, near Idria in Western Slovenia. Okay, next one here, still on the moving. We immediately have some Ukraine with the red Google car there. So what we thinking here? We have a phone code. We have a few phone codes, and I can't remember exactly how this round goes, so I'm kind of curious to see. Bear in mind that Blinky has just taken his first damage for the entire series on round number 1 there. Yes, that's right. I'm pretty sure that Blinky got the right phone code, because I think we could see 061 at the very beginning here. Is it Melitopol, or around where he clicked, or maybe Zaporizhia, or whatever it's called.
Zaporizhia.
I think it's that one, if I remember correctly. No, it is Melitopol. But yeah, that's the phone code there, 1.7k. I don't think MK learnt many phone codes for the World Cup. I think he really just played the game a ton. And it does go to show the power of that. Like, just playing the game is most of what you need. Everything else, like learning little pieces of information, is bonus on top of, you know, being extremely consistent and knowing what the whole world looks like, basically. Next one here, things are getting dire for MK. He's behind again against Blinky on moving. You do not want to be behind, especially when this is the decided game. Cochabamba is the call by MK here. I think Blinky nails the town here, if I remember. He lines up the hills. Oh, it's beautiful. That is just like such a nice guess, man. And MK made the standard guess, to be sure, like a good guess. But you know, Blinky just like, you know, using the hills, using the kind of coverage, probably. Very nice. Next one here, and we are through to Peru. Oh gosh, I hate getting urban rounds against Blinky because you just know he's gonna find something so quickly and you panic. What does MK go for here? I think MK was quite accurate, if I recall correctly. It's another round. I don't exactly remember what happened. MK kind of struggling a little bit. Wait, Blinky was a bit unsure after he guessed. We were like, wait, did he go something wrong here? Yeah, they end up choosing similar locations. I think he is searching for Thomas, maybe. And Blinky, he looked sad when he guessed, but he was in the exact place. So I'm not exactly sure what. Maybe he wanted the 5k. Maybe he clicked one town over or what. I don't know, but we were a bit confused. At this point, MK, less than half of Blinky's health. Oh my gosh, man. It's a very hard to get across how hard it's going to be for MK to get back into this game at this point. But obviously from the title of this video, if you haven't seen it, you at least know that this is continuing on longer than a 3-0. I mean, you could say that would be like a great esports moment for Blinky, you know, just pure domination, someone who, you know, is that level above everyone. But no, it's not how it happens here. Next one, we got an insta-lock from MK. He does get the correct state here. Blinky runs into some audition. I'm not sure how MK knew that this was audition, but Blinky he can read, you know, Indian languages. I don't think he actually managed to get anything there. Otherwise, he could have ended the game. It's 1.8k though. 700 points for MK, guys. It's round 5. Okay, so now it's all about hanging on until you get that one round where you can make a big comeback as MK. As I said, like in the first rounds, kind of generally speaking, a lot of people talk about no moving players, doing a bit of like just keeping up with them, and then as soon as it hits triple, quadruple damage, go for a fast guess on a round that you think is difficult. Now, this is a very interesting round. I have some insider information here. This ended up being a town in southeastern Kenya. You can see that because it's got the palm trees and everything. We have an insta-lock on Mombasa from MK. Smart play. I think, like, it just kind of is the center of everything that's possible. Now, Blinky comes across the town name here, and it is that one. Okay, let me actually just go back 5 seconds here, because I want to see it. So it was Tamu Beach, something. It's like Takatamu Beach, or something like that. Kodiak immediately realized where this town was, sitting next to me. And he said, me and Blinky had this round recently together in this town. And you can see it here. Can't you? Watumu, that's it, Watumu. It says Watumu. They had a round in Watumu recently together. Blinky, not one to forget stuff like that. And little does he know how much that mistake will come back to bite him, but it's still 25 points of damage onto MK. MK on 676 points. Actually, look at that for a second. As you can see, he's on 700 points and he gets dealt 25 points, so it should be 675, but because there are hidden decimals, it's 676. Interesting little thing if you didn't know that about the way health works in duels. Next one here, another round where Blinky switches off a guess that would have won the whole World Cup for himself. This is the brand new Mongolia coverage, also very interesting in that respect. This coverage had only been out for 2 weeks, maybe. So it's the type of thing that players don't really know so well. It's going to be the kind of thing that players know very well eventually, but as it stands, not yet. So MK knows the road. Unsurprisingly, both players know the road, but MK goes very quickly there. I think Blinky's clicked on the wrong part of the road at the moment. I think it actually goes to the town starting with B, just above his marker. He switches over. This is where he has it now, I think is the correct answer, near Delga there. And yeah, if he had have just left it in Delga, it would have been GG. That's the World Cup. Blinky, everyone to keep his calm, never showing his annoyance on his face. MK with just 676 HP left. Round number 8's a classic, guys. We have a interesting little Latvia here. I want to watch Blinky's POV here because I'm not sure how he got so close on this round. I don't think he saw anything of particular use there. Okay, he sees a map at first. Maybe that said like a municipality or something. Obviously, MK knows he needs to be close, and a small country like Latvia is not what he wanted to see. He wanted to see a big country where he can get that huge advantage with a great region guess. This one, he just clicks Riga. MK is also known for not knowing small countries. He knows the big countries really well, so that like is like a min-maxing thing. Obviously, you put your time and energy into learning the big countries, and then the small ones in Europe, he just clicks the middle of the country, man. Did you see that? Like, what was the other country? He just clicked Mombasa. Just a lot of these like smaller countries, he'll just click whatever's like the most logical middle guess. To be honest, like, I love it. Like, it's really funny, and it's also like pretty legit as a tactic. Especially because, you know, Riga is central as a capital, and it ends up being a good guess. It's just a Blinky. I don't know what Blinky even sees on this round. I think he just guesses, man. Unless there was something on that first sign he saw, I don't think at the end he found anything particularly useful. Look at this, Blinky, no celebration. A little bit of a smile, a little bit of a smile. 46 HP as MK with 2 rounds left on moving against Blinky are praying for some huge country, something where, you know, something where like, you know, you can at least make an impact on the game. And this is a very cool round, by the way. Next to the railway, the country is not even obvious. We have a round pole next to us. We have a bunch of Paraguay palms, these palm trees that tend to grow near Paraguay. And look at this, MK immediately zooms into Argentina. I remember he does that. Yeah, he zooms to Argentina, Cordoba. Meanwhile, Blinky is out on the main road. Now, fortunately, instead of hitting guess, MK wisely, I think that's something underrated about MK. He was very wise when he pressed guess. He would at least know the country on moving. He did insta-send, but only when he knew the country. And that's something I appreciated about his gameplay. So he makes it out to the road, realizes, okay, this is Brazilian pavement, never Argentina by the time he's there. And then it's all about finding what he can. Now, in Brazil, you're looking for an area code. You're looking for those phone codes. You normally get them very quickly when you're in a town. Maybe out in the outback, it's harder, but yeah, in the town, when he just passes one by, you should have probably pressed Z, but it's okay because he comes by another one. 5-5 area code. So that is the Max South, Rio Grande do Sul, Fortiera, the town, which is actually bigger on the side of Uruguay. This is why both players were confused. Probably Blinky's like, oh, I've heard of this place, but where is it? MK did not, I think, maybe he did find the town name, but he ends up hedging it south, and Blinky switches off the area code, which I don't exactly know if or when he came across an area code. I assume he would have, but maybe he just forgot. I don't know what happened in this round. But with 46 HP on a round with Brazil area codes, with town names and everything, MK is significantly closer. It's not that much without multis, but with multis, 2.4k. So now MK has to hope for another big country. If it's a small country, you know, Qatar, Uganda, these countries can show up. If it's one of those, then the World Cup is over because Blinky can just click the middle, and because he's ahead on HP, even if MK is closer, he takes the win. That's the round limit. Kind of stupid in my opinion, but that's how it is. So now MK, 46 HP, deadpan expression, just full concentration. I know the feeling. Can Blinky close it out is the question. If the round order was any different here, by the way, Blinky just wins, right? Because MK is only making any form of a comeback on this last round because the multis are so high. Like if that round happens earlier, it's 400 points. Okay, last round here, and immediately as it loaded in, I said it's Northern Ireland to the people sitting next to me because we had black stickers on the poles, on multiple of the poles. It's harder to see on this quality, that are just simply NI. Can we even see it here? I think we can maybe even see it here. MK should be getting that, in my opinion. Just clicks Manchester. This is like a high nerves guess, in my opinion. Though, to be fair, I mean, the guess is reasonable if you don't see that, but I don't understand how, like, on the very first frame, we saw it and neither player gets it. It's just a stress thing, I think. I'm not saying I'm, like, better than them. Both players are better than me, of course. I'm just saying, like, you know, like, this is a fairly easy round. Even still, Blinky doesn't know where MK's guessed, of course, but Blinky only has to be in a similar area as MK or closer to win this. Like, basically, if Blinky clicks even Birmingham here, I'm pretty sure he wins the duel because he's still got 1,500 HP over and above MK's health. If he clicks London, obviously MK will then win, but if he's anywhere closer, if he just clicks anywhere slightly closer or close to MK, then it's game over. So let's see what Blinky does, and oh yeah, we can see them, and yeah, we can. I could swear we had more of them.
2 seconds later.
So Blinky, even before he opens the map here, turns around and sees the black Northern Ireland sticker and misses it and goes southern. Now, landscape-wise and like climate-wise, I do understand because this kind of region here, I forget what this strait is called between Ireland and Scotland, but it is very warm. Like the currents are warm there, so you get a lot of warmer vegetation, and you go south. Unbelievable. I mean, believable, but unbelievable at the same time. But MK makes a multis comeback with 46 HP, man. What the heck? This was just like unbelievable, and all of a sudden, there I am filming. You can see me filming there. Because I was like, okay, I wanted to capture the winning moment, but then MK just wins with the crazy multi-merchant on the final 2 rounds. It's like, okay, man, MK's gonna, you know, like play it like that. That's cool. But I turned to Len and to Kodiak. I'm like, wait, dude, next is no moving and NMPZ. These are modes that theoretically Blinky and MK are very even on. The fact that MK managed to take off a moving from Blinky in the World Cup Grand Final is crazy. The multis were the reason. Don't get me wrong, Blinky played better, but this is just the way it is. And we're through to no moving again. And this one goes differently to the other games, but not maybe in the way you expect if you haven't watched it. If you have, you know what's coming up. This is a sick duel, and it ends on an absolutely absurd round. So first round here, we're looking at a fun Russia. And of course on no moving, Russia's a bit more interesting. You can't just go and find the town name. Although I think both players do nail this one as far as I remember. So it's probably not too many points of damage. Very quick guess here by MK. We got the blurred antenna, I think, which is something you see a lot around where he guessed. And Blinky also opts for a similar area. So I think it might have been between them or something here. I don't remember it being too many points of damage here. Let's see if I'm right about that. No, it was actually further west there. Wow, Riazan. Maybe I missaw the antenna. I don't think there's any blurred antenna there. So I'm wondering why that was the guess. Not entirely sure. But next one here, we are in Nigeria. We got the police car following, as you always have in Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria, a fairly sizable country. So even 1.5 times damage is somewhat scary in Nigeria. And it is like a fairly unique round. If only Nigeria had more coverage. Unfortunately, it is mostly on those main roads. MK locks in thinking he might know the coverage. Blinky nearby. I think Blinky switches further north though. I think it ends up being further north here, if I recall correctly, yeah. Switches up towards Abuja, and it ends up being further east as well, above Lafia then. I don't really know my Nigeria too well, but Blinky again, going for the flawless against MK so far. Oh, this round is fascinating, actually. This is where MK takes a big lead, and he could have won the whole thing. This is Amazon, Brazil. We have no Google car, and we have trees and dirt, and that's pretty much all we have. The country is definitely difficult. Like, Brazil is not obvious here, but at the end of the day, it's like there's just not that many options with a landscape like this. Maybe Mexico as well. I don't know. The trees definitely feel Brazilian to me. Easy to say when you know, but yeah, I mean, I agreed when I saw MK putting it down in Santarém. And then we have Blinky, perplexed. Without a marker down yet, he's zoomed in on southern Brazil. He's in Paraná. Very interesting guess, especially because where Blinky is, there would be definitely more red soil, I think, generally speaking. He's clicking a very red soil part with brown soil here. Meanwhile, MK is switching and hedging everything. This is a crazy guess, especially considering the way the scoring works, because like it's hedging for Accra and Manaus, but I think it's only like, he's only gonna get like 2 points if it's actually Manaus, because that is like, we're very close to the equator here, so that's actually a very high distance. Anyway, I think it's suboptimal tactics perhaps. Let's see what it actually is, I forget. So yeah, 900 kilometers, yeah, 2.4k. If he clicks Santarém, he obviously wins the duel, because look at this, it's 3.3 thousand points. So if he doubles his score there, or a double damage, just about knocks Blinky out. No moving continues. MK now at a big advantage, takes off his earphone, potentially able to hear the casters there, but I'm not saying anything. Like I had to do that a bunch when I was playing as well, because you know, the you wear earphones inside earphones and it's quite uncomfortable. So this one was, I believe, Italy, right? Well, yeah, I think so, because Blinky zoomed in there, and so is MK. MK goes for the ocean hedge. Like, MK is one to appreciate, okay, there's a number of potential options here, and just kind of go between them. And it's Europe, you know? It's not big country, so, you know, MK is just happy to do that, wait for the countries where he's better at. We just saw him nail it, or almost nail it on Brazil, and Blinky ends up going for a similar kind of waterish hedge here. Where actually was it? He switches down to Sardinia, but it wasn't Sardinia, I believe. Yeah, Blinky kind of switches off there, and MK is closer in the water, which, based ocean hedger, I would like to see that. We are at the stage where MK almost has double the health of Blinky. On an NPZ, you maybe have to favor MK, so like, all of a sudden things are really heating up, man, really heating up, but the Maldives are so high, you just never know. Senegal here immediately sees the box in the back of the car there. This little box here is actually a very useful meta for the north of Senegal, and particularly this main road where MK is clicking right now. He finds a very nice angle. Blinky finds the same one, and then in a move which I really do not understand from Blinky, he switches off. He switches onto the correct road again, and then goes like the north road. I'm pretty sure the north road does not have the box. Again, he might have just forgot the box. Maybe he didn't see it, and Blinky is very distraught, but it's only 1.7k. Like, it looks really bad with triple damage, but Senegal is a rather small country. It's not huge, so it kind of feels huge because it's so empty. It kind of feels like a bit Australia-esque, a bit Mongolia-esque, but it's quite small indead. Blinky is down to 800 points, and on the next one, we have the evil minion bouncy castle, you know, awesome. And we also have something that says Cheboksari there. This is a heaven send for Blinky. Like, anything with a place name is going to be heavily advantaging him. MK does not zoom the info as fast as Blinky. Only a second later, to be sure. We were not sure if he would realize, especially zooming in on Kazan, if he had realized that was the place name. Of course, he finds Cheboksari fairly easily. Fun fact, Bag, who went to the World Cup, cannot read Cyrillic. He's just learning now after the World Cup. Craziness. One of the best Geoguessr players in the world, full stop. And that's absolutely like the truth. And yeah, no ability to read Cyrillic. Fortunately, MK could. Cheboksari, fairly straightforward after that point. And we get a very exciting round here. This one, I was just not sure of the country. When I saw both players guessing in Poland, I was like, yeah, it should be Poland. But very generic, tough round out in the middle of nowhere. It does feel very cold. And that's why both players opt for that northern Poland guess. Now this, if MK just clicks the middle of Poland, he wins here, obviously. They both go north. So because they guess on the same place, it ends up being insignificant points of damage. But just a bit of humbleness that MK normally has in Europe would have taken it a long way. I'm a humble Poland guesser. I love to region guess it, but at the end of the day, if it's a game that matters, I normally just click the middle, and it normally pays off, because normally my vibe was wrong. And yeah, that's exactly what happens in this round here. They get their markers down near Gdansk there, and with 13 seconds left, there's no point in locking in. MK does it anyway, and Blinky to follow, soaking in any last information, goes slightly east of Gdansk, like hedges a bit further west. He hedges inside the dark green, which is where the forests are. That's why he does it, and it ends up being right on the Belarus border. And when you look at that, Blinky damage 524. He stays alive. Very close. Look how close they were to one another. This is what quadruple multis does, bro. That ends up being 500 points of damage for such a similar guess, but it is a difference of 50 kilometers, so that's why. And man, oh man, this was intense. 317 points. This was also an interesting one. I thought it was all over because wherever Blinky was guessing, Len and Kodiak were saying, no, 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 it's not there, or something. I think it was Len who's practiced a bit more northern India or something. This is brand new coverage, by the way. Brand new stuff that they've released up in the Himalayas. It's a real shame that the camera quality is so poor because, man, it looks so cool. Like this in Generation 4 with the proper quality would just be unbelievably cool. But at the same time, you know, there's no other country you could really confuse it with. It's so unique up in the Himalayas. Yapping aside, MK locks in on what Len had thought was a better guess, but it ends up being much further south. Blinky's hedge actually gives him 1,000 points there. Very specific because this one goes down to low HP. I mean, like if Blinky just clicks a little bit further away, it could have altered the entire duel or the way the duel panned out. But we're on round 8 already, guys. Round limit is threatening itself here, and we have round number 9. The multi's up to 5 times now, man. So if you get a 5k and the other person gets 0 points, it's 25,000 points of damage, man. Craziness. Okay, so we have Chile. I didn't actually know if it was Chile. I was like, what else could it be? I was not quite sure about that, but both players with a good view on the round do opt for Chile here. It is the correct country. There's a lot of like tree plantations, especially a lot of pines, but it's also kind of dry. MK takes the dry vibe and tends to think it's a bit further north. Blinky takes the amount of trees that we see, those kind of tree plantations, which they're really common near Concepcion. So he takes it a bit further south. So let's see how he goes about deciding this. He's moving his marker around a bit. He's looking further north and further north in these dry sections. He looks further south as well. He's really committed to that southern idea. MK with his marker down near Santiago instead, you see. And Blinky just last second puts it in Concepcion. It's a great move and it almost wins him the World Cup. 3,640, 66 HP. Blinky, no way. 317 versus 66. Essentially a coin toss. Will it be one of those smaller European countries where Blinky has a big advantage in region guessing because MK doesn't really do it too much? Or will it be a big country which MK has practiced a lot of, one of those ones where he's able to nail down the regions despite it being very difficult to do so? Look at that, man. If Blinky just goes a little further south, man, just 5 kilometers even, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 5 kilometers would have won him the World Cup, but you know, it's craziness. Blinky's guess was better. Round number 10. Can we go all the way to NMPZ? That is what we didn't get in last year's World Cup. Last year was a 3-1 from Consus. And here we go. We're in the water. We have the antenna, which denotes Latin America. So at this point, Mexico seemed the best option out of the possible countries here. It could have been Brazil, technically. We also see Mexican poles there, actually. So yeah, Mexico it is. MK just does one. I love this guy, bro. He just zooms in, Kalima, does a shrug, and then just hits guess. I had been thinking it was further east in the country. You can hear that in the vlog. I was thinking it's further east. When I saw these guys both going west, I was like, oh yeah, actually, should probably be west if they're both going there. And I like Blinky's guess as well. I do. Like Nayarit and Kalima are both good guesses here, I think, on this landscape. MK nailing it. Blinky like, no way. He looks over at MK, gives a shrug, and MK has all of a sudden taken it to NMPZ. Do you realize what's happened here, guys? This is why I'm saying this is one of the greatest like finals of all time. We had Blinky go flawless in game 1. Flawlessed him. Game 2, he flawlesses him in 3 rounds with MK making massive blunders. Game 3, he's beating MK by almost 5,000 points, 4,000 points up until the last 2 rounds. Then MK makes the comeback, narrowly beats him on the UK. And then this happens where they're both down to sub 500 health. MK with 66 HP left makes it. This was insane. And the insanity was only just beginning because the devs had a wicked map for NMPZ in this tournament. And this seed was no exception. We had an absolute banger. Banger sounds too like supportive of the map. The map is just ridiculous, man. And so here we go. NMPZ game 5. Whatever happens from here, the final was legendary. Flawless, sub 100 HP, sub 100 HP. 60 HP is 1% of 6,000, right? So we had 2 games where MK went down to 1% HP. Do you know how rare that is? That's why after this all happened, I was like, this has to be like a 1 in 100,000 chance, man. And we start off with a super interesting round here. And spoilers, they do not get it right. Neither player gets it right here. We've got a concrete pole with a divot here. We've got a bunch of white brick. The white brick is what makes them think of Mexico here. here. The pole simply is not something you would see in Mexico, but when I saw them both there, I was like, okay, I guess it is Mexico. I suppose so. They missed the cobbler here, by the way, which is square at the back. That cobbler is pointing you towards countries that normally have roof racks or trekkers. It is possible in Mexico, 100%, but it's super common in Guatemala, and it's super common in any country in Africa or whatever, where they got the roof racks. And that is, my friends, where this ends up being, in Ghana. Blinky is surprised. MK the same. I, watching live, did not think of Ghana, although apparently some people did realize it was going to be there. But with the cobbler, it was gettable, I think, especially with the hole being so weird. The architecture, a little strange. Okay, NMPZ, we got the Thai monk doing a burning here, and we got some palms here. I think we saw, like, did we see an oil palm here? No, I was imagining things. Oh, we do have a palm, but it's not an oil palm. So we're up in the hills here in Thailand. North always makes sense for that. MK goes for the middle click. It's MK, guys. He's gonna go for the middle click sometimes. That's just that's a rule of nature. Blinky opts for north, and it ends up being northern, but with hills. So MK's guess is slightly better there. I like the guess. It's a very safe guess. MK does that a lot. If he doesn't know specifically, then he safe guesses, and it's a winning tactic. It is a winning tactic a lot of the time. Moving forward, we get an absolute stinker of a round. This is a crazy one. We've got some palms, we've got a jungle in the background, some junglish mountains. As we loaded in here, I was thinking Malaysia, I was thinking Malaysia. I was not really sure what we were looking at here. I also thought of Mexico. I was feeling quite decent about Mexico, maybe a similar kind of round to the one we saw in Colima, which MK nailed before. It's just such a difficult round. I don't know how to feel about rounds like this. They're just so difficult, so out of the ordinary. It's like if it was just a normal, like, USA, they just had to region guess the US. Like, to me, that's maybe more indicative of normal NMPZ skills. This is like, are you good at bait maps? Are you good at those, like, crazy locations? And, well, let's see who does a better job here, because Blinky is just zoomed into South America. Meanwhile, MK zooms into Southeast Asia. He hedges everything. At this point, I was liking MK's guess a bit more. I can't lie. I was on the team Southeast Asia. The texture of the road is very weird for there, but I thought the landscape fit more for, like, maybe like a Sarawak or something like that near where MK clicked. He hedged everything. Blinky in Ecuador. Not a country that crossed my mind at all, to be honest, but I didn't hate the guess. I was like, yeah, certainly can be there. And he hedges further north just at the last second there, and it ends up being Central Peru. Crazy round, by the way. How is that there? 3,400 points. MK being 19,000 kilometers away. He clicked the opposite side of the planet and is rewarded with 0 points, of course. 3,600 onto MK there. At this point, I'm like, wowee, okay, World Cup back in Blinky's hands. All he has to do is not choke at this point. And the map continued to deliver some crazy ones here. We move forward to round number 4. 2.5 times damage at this stage. We have an easy one here. I mean, not an easy for the average player. I think this is very difficult for the average player, but these pine plantations with the very red soil just look like the panhandle of Argentina. Very difficult to describe why. I really couldn't quite tell you why it looks like that, beyond like the obvious, like, you know, that they grow those trees there and that the soil looks like that there, but like it just is easy if you play a lot of Geoguessr. It's just a thousands of hours player kind of issue, you know? So MK still very much behind. We know MK is good in clutch situations. He almost got reverse swept twice in the quarters and then in semis, and this time it's his turn to reverse sweep. And we're looking at a huge mountain there in Turkey. Blinky with an insta zoom, not an insta lock though. Blinky's not a big fan of the insta lock. MK goes for Antalya. I think I was agreeing with their guesses here. I think I liked their guesses. They end up being wrong, but I think I liked that region. As someone who's played a decent amount of Turkey, I knew it should be west somewhere. It's a very unique looking mountain. There's a lot of cool mountains where they clicked, but it's near Eskişehir, inside like a river valley. Very interesting round, 222. MK stays above 2,000 points, but only just. Blinky, commanding lead at this point. But look at their multi, 3.5 now. We had 2 rounds where they guessed the same place in a row, and all of a sudden the multi on NMPZ is so deadly that it really is anyone's game. And we have a fascinating round here, tons of pines. We have like some Baltic looking pines here, as well as like some, I'm not even sure what some of these other ones are. Very dark soil as well here, very dark soil, which influences both players' guesses, I would say. Firstly, MK goes for the zoom here. We're 54 seconds in, so we're 5 seconds into the round, 6 seconds. He goes suckle in. I immediately said on the vlog, you can go back and watch my vlog, I said, not suckle in, never suckle in. It just isn't. But, well, at this point I was like, okay, Blinky won the World Cup. If he just goes Russia, if he just goes middle, to me, I was thinking like Irkutsk or something near like Lake Baikal or something like that. Or just something along like that kind of area, like in Eastern Russia. Blinky is completely unsure. He hates the insta-lock. And I think psychologically, I haven't asked Blinky, but maybe he thought because MK guessed so quickly that it was going to be something more obvious, and so not just like a Russia, because coming up with like a guess in Russia that quickly is kind of unusual. So maybe he's like, oh, it must be not Russia given that guess. With 4 seconds left, he goes Chile. No, this is exactly what happened to me in Orlando. I guessed super quickly on a Tierra del Fuego, and then he went Russia, so exact opposites. And let's see what happens here. It is, of course, Russia. I knew it was Russia. I think if I was playing in this situation, I would have just won the World Cup there. Even an Irkutsk guess there, which is what I was thinking. I was thinking in like one of these towns, like west of Irkutsk, would have been enough to win the World Cup, of course. But look how much closer it is. 3,900 to 18,000. Again, almost the opposite side of the globe. It's only 252 points. Craziness. That's only 800 points. I mean, MK almost deserved to win there, but Sakhalin's just too bad of a guess for me to feel like he actually deserved to win. So we continue on, which is good. It brings the HP to be quite a bit more even here. We're through to round number 7 here. There's not many rounds left, but also MK's health is low. The next one here, we've got houses, which is just very typical Bulgaria. I could have seen maybe Italy working here as well, but everything just like feels a bit too Bulgarian. There's plausible deniability for other countries, but it's just kind of like an easy Bulgaria, I would say. And so both players guessing central there. It obviously works out. MK slightly closer, right? So a bit more chip onto Blinky, 232. Oh my gosh, the hearts must have been racing at this point, especially after that Russia. Like, what an insane round. Blinky holds his cool, so does MK. Not in some of the guesses, both of them, but you know, they don't look super stressed. You know, if I'm in that situation, I'm wringing my hands, I'm going, I'm doing the heavy breathing, but these guys, they seem to be pretty chill. And this is one of my favorite rounds of the whole World Cup, to be honest. I just love the way this one pans out. As we loaded in, I was immediately like, Washington, D.C. That was my guess on this one. And then he opens Spotify. That makes this round even better. And we have an Insta East Zoom here. Pittsburgh Instalock by MK. I love it. He even smiles. He has like a little smile here after. In real life, when I was sitting with Len and Cody, I was like, oh, Giga Chad, bro. That's such a sick guess. Like winning the World Cup on Pittsburgh would just be so iconic. So iconic. At that point, I was like, well, yeah, if he's guessing Pittsburgh, maybe it's just freaking Pittsburgh. I don't know. Blinky, I'm surprised, so close as well. Just south of the border there in West Virginia. To be fair, the house is very run down. I do understand that guess. And it ends up being near Philadelphia there. I'm pretty sure my guess there would have won the World Cup, but you know, it's easy to say this on the sidelines. I love the fact that he guessed Pittsburgh there, man. It's so funny. Like, MK just does things for the memes as well. A lot of the time. He's a serious player. He's seriously made it to the World Cup Grand Final. And yet, like, he's just memeing half the time. And then we get a crazy round here. French flags hung up. Immediately as we loaded in, even seeing the French flags, I said it's Germany. I said that. Ask Len, ask Kodiak, I said that. And then I read the fact that this was also in French, Les Amiches, and I was like, oh, it's France then, I guess. And I saw Blinking on France. I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's France. Sure. I was like, well, but it's Germanic architecture. It has to be near Germany. Like these, like the way they've got these like boardings here. Obviously, Blinky going on the German border at first here. And apparently there was like one little sign. I think these signs might be German because, spoiler alert, it is actually Germany. I see Blinky lock in and I see where MK is looking and I'm like, nah, it's GG. We got a new World Cup champion because quite simply, like just to be candid for a second, this is like the climax of the video. What am I doing? But you know, this is just like not a guess that makes sense. Most players who are as good as MK don't do this guess, but the thing is he just doesn't know European countries like that. So it's a really unfortunate one. If he got Mexico, if he got Brazil, if he got US, could have been a much different story. Blinky takes the World Cup. Look at that. Such a crazy last round to show up. I mean, did they know that that would be in the World Cup Grand Final? I have no idea. It's craziness. And the celebrations were huge. And by the way, I forgot to mention while I was saying this, but like Kodiak was next to me crying before it ended, by the way. He was crying because he just wanted Blinky to win so much. They're like day one brothers, and I wanted to see Blinky win as well because I think he deserved it. But also I wanted to see a good show. I wouldn't have minded if MK won. He also represents my playstyle, so that would have been a dub for all the NMPZ players out there and no moving grinders and all that. Len was like laughing hysterically, Kodiak crying on the floor, and then all these rounds, bro, they were so intense and we're just going insane. I mean, yeah, the crowd was definitely on Blinky's side. Like many people did want to see him win. I think also we're in Europe. Blinky's the most established player. There I am hugging Kodiak. The tears are now tears of joy. And number one. That's true. He is number one. If you want to talk about a GOAT for Geoguessr, this guy's got to be on the top of the list, I think. And there you go. I mean, what scenes, man. But there you have it, man. I mean, what a grand final. You rarely get to experience something so crazy in real life. People ask me after my Balkan holiday, everything about the World Cup, what was my favorite thing at the World Cup? My favorite thing at the World Cup was watching that game. You just don't get to experience something like that very often, man. It truly insane stuff. Blinky, congratulations, man. If you're watching this, I'm a fan, you know. We're friends, but I'm also a fan. That's a go-to performance. MK, such an impressive player for only 2 years of gameplay and only like a year of serious gameplay. The fact that he's better than me really annoys me. Can't lie. Like, it's crazy. Hopefully there's, you know, like a World Cup in the United States or something where we can have like, you know, the crowd being on the MK side or something like that. I mean, seeing this rematch next year, or these two at the World Cup Grand Final next year, if they do 1v1 again, would be crazy. But I think that's about all I have to say. I'm not educated on esports like that, but surely this is up there with some of the greatest Grand Finals of all time. I think the one thing that maybe detracts from that is the fact that MK got so lucky on the second moving game. But the storyline is nevertheless absurd. It felt rigged. It feels truly to me like a 1 in 100,000. Just crazy. All right, guys, that is it for the video. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in a video very soon. Peace.